What is up, Thrift Pals, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday School here on Good Game Grabs. So far in this series, we have learned to set aside time. We set up a space to take pictures and store items. We have gone through what sell-through rate is and how to determine if an item is worth putting on eBay. And we have mapped out the thrift stores and places that we can source things from in our area to flip online on eBay. So hopefully by now you have a couple items sitting around that you've determined have a good sell-through rate and you are ready to list them. We are getting into the absolute nitty-gritty today. I'm going to show you sort of different levels of listings. I'm going to show you like a super simple, quick, and easy listing, and I'm going to show you a little bit more complicated of a listing as well. So let's go ahead. We're going to do everything on our phone, by the way, so grab that phone if you are following along, and let's get to our listing station and start listing some stuff. So we are going to start with arguably one of the most easiest things to list on eBay, and that is a brand new sealed DVD. This is Invictus. It's got Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. I say those names because we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's go ahead and scan this in and see if we can find some sold listings of this DVD. And we're basically going to not exactly copy a listing of somebody else's, but we're going to basically set up the framework for our listing off of somebody else's sold listing. And let's dive into that. I'll explain that in 1 second. All right, so we're going to open our eBay app. We are going to go and search for this DVD by barcode. You guys know that we've done this in the past now. So we're going to hit that on the DVD there. Bam. Okay, 255 results. That's fine. We're looking at brand new. So we're going to sort by brand new. We're going to go back up. We're going to go to sold items. We see that it's sold 11 times in the last 90 days. So not a crazy sell-through rate on this at all. But you know, since it is so easy to list and so quick to list, like it's in ship, it's really going to be worth our time for a few bucks. So we see that it's sold for $4 with $4 in shipping right here on February 19th of 2023. So we're going to go ahead and click on this listing and then hit sell one like this. We're actually selling the same exact thing, but they have to say that for legal reasons, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so starting off, we're going to take some pictures and let's go through that right now. So on a brand new DVD, you really can't take any more pictures than literally the front and the back. I suppose you could take a picture of the spine if you wanted to, or sometimes there's a seal on top that will just, you know, give the buyer extra, you know, confidence in the fact that it is sealed brand new. But this one pretty obviously is. I did just notice that it has a little bit of damage right here in the case, which, you know, typically in a brand new DVD you would not see, but we're going to go ahead and take a picture of that really quick so we can show the buyer that there is a little damage here. But otherwise, it would be very, very straightforward to list this DVD. So now that we have our pictures though, let's go ahead and build the listing. So we're going to add our pictures here. 3 pictures, upload. Now, at this point is usually when I pay attention to the main photo. The main photo obviously is going to be what attracts someone into your listing. So we want to make sure that the main photo is as good as possible. We want to make sure that it has, you know, generally a good crop, a good center to the photo, good lighting, all that good stuff, good contrast. So you guys can play around with this a little bit, but since I have a pretty solid lighting setup here, I typically don't mess with any brightness or contrast settings, but depending on where you're taking pictures, you may want to adjust that. I usually just go in to the actual editor through eBay. You can also just edit the photo on your phone app as well, but I just go in through eBay because it's easier, and I'll go to the crop tool. I'll crop it down just about like that, center it. That looks pretty good. Hit apply, hit save, and bam, we have a good main photo now. Got our other two photos. Let's focus in on our title now. So we have Invictus DVD, Morgan Freeman, Matt Damon, Clint Eastwood, Invictus movie new. So I'm not 100% on why they set up their title this way. I actually don't like it. I do like that they did put in the actors here. So, I will say that having all three of those actors' names on the title is probably pretty good considering how notable of actors they are. So let's go ahead and keep the actors' names in there, but let's rework this title a little bit. So I like to put a little tag keyword in front of mine if they are, brand new DVDs or games or Blu-rays or anything of that nature. A lot of media-based stuff. If it is brand new, I will put like new in caps with an exclamation. That way it kind of attracts the buyer's eyes to my title. Some people may not agree with that, but it's worked for me. Play around with it, but I like a little tagline. Like if I'm listing a video game and it has a really clean disc, I might put clean in caps with an exclamation before everything else. But Invictus, the type of media that it is, that's pretty good. I will put a little dash here just to separate the title from the actual DVD, what the actual media is. I will probably put another dash here just to separate the actors or actresses from what type of media it is. But I think it looks pretty good here. Maybe at the end we put in caps free SH, which free shipping and handling, that will also catch people's attention if they don't notice it off the bat. I like to put that in my titles because, hey, okay, now we're going to run into item specifics. You just saw me hit the condition as brand new. Obviously, they tell you, what is required here, what is recommended here. So obviously, all the required specifics are required to make our listing. Usually, those are pretty much filled out for you just because, again, we use somebody else's listing as a template for that, and they probably had filled out all of those required item specifics. But moving down into recommended, this part of listing, guys, is controversial in a way. I recommend, and literally that's why it's called recommended, I recommend trying to fill in as many of these as you can. Obviously, you don't have to spend all day on this because they're going to find this DVD rather easily if they're looking for it. We've got our actors' names in the title, so we're all good there. But, like things like, subgenre, studio, maybe actor, genre, language, and rating, I would say are pretty solid ones to fill out for a DVD. But just, kind of use your common sense with recommended stuff if you don't know what it is. So like, let's say we go into season. There's no options here that they give us. So I don't even know what I'm going to put there for season. If it was like a Christmas movie, maybe I'd put Christmas, but if you don't know what an item specific is, do not fill it out at all. Don't put NA, don't put not available, don't put none. Just leave it blank. Moving on to additional specifics. This, again, is very debatable in the eBay community, whether or not you should fill in this stuff. Just scrolling through here, I mean, I'm pretty much, like it's got producer filled out, it's got subtitle language filled out, release year filled out. I think that's pretty good, really. I mean, you could probably do like edition if it's a special edition or something like that. Like it gives you like standard edition, box set, special edition, 3D, diamond edition, director's cut. If you guys want to do that, you can do that as well. But again, for something as simple as this is like, a $4 to $6 item. We're just kind of cruising through this. You don't want to spend all day, filling in item specifics for a $4 to $6 item. The 100% absolute thing that you do need to pay attention to, though, in additional specifics is going to be at the very bottom of your listing, and that's going to be your custom SKU. So if you guys have, let's say you have a box or a tub or whatever, only for DVDs or media like this, then that's where the custom SKU is going to come in handy. So if you have something like that, you could put in media in the custom SKU, and now you know that this is going to be in your media box after you hit done listing or listing done, and you go to file this in your media box. So very important to pay attention to custom SKU. I use these all the time, especially for clothing. I have a custom SKU number that's 4 numbers long, and that allows me to pull an item whenever it sells rather easily because all of my boxes are numbered with custom SKUs on them. So I know which SKUs are in which box. I can go ahead and pull it easily, get it on its way. So moving on from item specifics, we just want to glance at the category really quick here. Movies and TV, and that moves into DVDs and Blu-ray discs, which that's what this is. This is a DVD disc. Okay, description. This is another very important part. I think that, a lot of people will say that, folks that buy on eBay don't pay attention to the description, but this is what is going to save your butt if there is an issue with an item and the buyer claims that there was an issue that was never stated or in the pictures of the item. So this is where we are going to talk about our little gash right here. I guess that's what you want to call it. I'm going to call it a gash. You could use whatever wordage you want there, but I'm going to say, please note gash on back. And then I say this a lot in a lot of my items that ship free. I'm going to say ships fast, free, and secure. And I think secure is a really important word to use there because people want to know that you're not just going to throw this in a poly mailer naked with no padding and it arrives all mashed up and broken and then you have to go through a whole process of return. It's also important to note that if you guys are listing used media items such as like video games, take note of like, oh, the plastic on the case has cloudiness somewhere. The manual has water damage. The disc has scratches. That's a huge one, guys. Like if you are selling used video games with scratches, you are going to want to make note of that for the buyer. Just in specifics, for video games, those buyers that are, serious collectors, they're going to want to know about the disc condition. Okay, now that we have our description done, and typically, guys, like even with something new like this, I might not even put a description because if this thing was in perfect, if it didn't have the gash on the back, I would just not even put a description. I would just go forth with, whatever it fills in the title automatically. I would just go forth and not even do a description because it's just such an easy peasy, like, hey, it's straight up what it is. But because we have the damage there, again, that's why we're using the description there. So, okay, on to pricing. You guys will notice that it is set by default on auction, but we're going to do buy it nows. Auctions, I think, are going to be a completely separate topic video. I mean, if you guys want to see a video on auctions, we can definitely do that. But for now, we're going to focus on buy it now, which is setting a flat price across the board. So for this guy, we saw it sell for $4 with $4 in shipping. So I think that this is probably, around a $7 to $8 DVD with free shipping. I like offering free shipping. We'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, guys, as I'm editing this, I noticed that I lost some footage. We are going to talk over this as the screen recording is going in a different setting. I apologize. But talking about shipping. So The shipping specifics, the weight, and the dimensions are not going to matter at all because we are offering free shipping. That is mainly for if you're offering calculated shipping, which that is something we will talk about in a later episode. But for now, we're just going to focus on making this free shipping, making it as easy as possible. And we'll talk more about calculated shipping and flat rate shipping as well. The shipping service that we're using is going to be USPS Media Mail. There is a list on their website of things that they do accept through their Media Mail program. Unfortunately, video games is not one of them, but DVDs and Blu-rays is. So we know it's going to be a cheap price at under £1. Basically, for Media Mail and first class mail, anything under £1 goes for certain rates, and then anything over £1 you're going to have to ship at a different rate, either in media mail or priority mail for other types of items. And that's just at the basic level of shipping. We'll talk more in depth about different ways to ship different items for more effective prices. Now, under shipping costs, you're going to select free for the buyer. We pay shipping, and that makes shipping all good to go. Under payment preferences, the two things that we're mainly going to pay attention to are the handling time and your return policy. So under the handling time, I do 1 day handling because I do this full time. So therefore I can be more attentive to my items. But if you guys do this as like a part-time gig, you have a main day job, whatever, you might want to do 3 days. But 1 day processing also allows you to be a top rated seller, which is also something that buyers definitely look for. So you guys can figure that out for yourselves. And then moving on to your return policy, I personally do 30 days for a return, and then the buyer pays the return shipping. However, if you want to be top rated plus, and that's something we can talk about again in the future, but if you want to be a top rated plus seller, you need to offer returns paid for by the seller. So just a couple things there to pay attention to, but the rest of the stuff, the item location is pretty straightforward. The payment method is pretty straightforward as well. And then of course, if you want to require a immediate payment, you can do that. I know some sellers do get a little bit antsy about, turning that on or off. I just leave it off. I just let the buyer pay at their discretion, but I also don't deal with a lot of people not paying for their items. If you find yourself in a situation where you are dealing with a lot of people not paying for their items, like they've basically, agreed to pay, but then never actually pay, you might want to check that out. One last important thing before we actually finalize the listing is to check out the preview. Make sure everything looks all good. Make sure your main picture looks good. Make sure that you are offering the shipping that you want to offer there, whether it's free shipping or calculated. And then also just check out, the item specifics there really quick. And then you can go back and hit list item, and bam, you have your first listing on eBay. Okay, next up, and a little bit more of a complicated item to list, but a favorite item of a lot of resellers is shoes. These are Adidas powerlifting shoes. The only way that I could tell that was it does say down here in the sole, it says weightlifting. Also, I looked up the art code for these Adidas, and when you pull it up on eBay, it does in fact say weightlifting shoes or powerlifting shoes. Now, these look like they're in pretty good shape. I don't really plan on cleaning these up at all. I'm going to list these as is. This may seem a little bit weird, but also just give it a smell. If it has any funky smells, if it may smell like cigarette smoke or sweaty feet, unfortunately, that does happen. But no, these actually smell fine. They look good. Let's go ahead and get these listed. I'm going to go through the same process that we just went through, but we're also going to sort of just pause and stop and just talk about each process going through that. So first things first, I'm actually staging these shoes to get pictures taken, and I like to undo my laces. I don't like to tie laces in shoe pictures, but if you guys like to do that, then that's up to you. But I typically like to tuck mine away, and this is being a real jerk right now, so we're going to speed this up. All right. We are good to go. Also, you guys can follow the exact regiment that I do for my shoe picture taking. You guys will develop your own rhythm and what you guys like to do in your shoe pictures. But again, this is all up to you guys. I just prefer to do pictures pretty in depth, typically on my items, just because I want the customer to see exactly what they're getting. So, some people might look at this and be like, wow, that's a lot of pictures. You probably don't need that many. I think you do. So let's get to work. All right, pictures are done. All right, so let's go ahead and add our pictures in. And again, guys, we're going to take a look at the main photo. These actually look pretty good. I'm not even going to crop these. I think we're just going to leave these as be. These look pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's good to go. Oops, we actually forgot one picture, guys. I goofed up. We need to take a picture of the size tag. That would probably help, right? The strap is not helping. There we go. All right. Size tag is acquired on there. Boom. All right. So, on to the title. This title is actually pretty good. It says Adidas Addy Power 2s, weightlifting shoes, men's 11 and a half. I typically feel like, and this is generally the consensus of other resellers, that is how you set up most clothing related items or clothing items, is the brand, the sub brand, if there is a sub brand, the sex of the item, whether it's male or female, the size, and then green, it says green or gray, black, green lifters. So anything that may describe the item, like colors, or if there's a strap or whatever that may be. I think this one is actually pretty good. I'm actually going to add the word strap in there just as another keyword that people could possibly find these shoes on. So I think the title's pretty good here from what we copied. Obviously, we need to change this to 11 because these are not 11 and a half. These are 11s and these are men's. So that's good. Okay, in item specifics, it's always going to ask you for a condition. You're obviously with these, you're going to say pre-owned. Brand Adidas, shoe size, US shoe size rather, is 11. Style is sneaker. Color is gray because that is the dominant color here. These are gray. Obviously there's some black and some green in there, but we're just going to say gray. The department is men. The type is athletic. And then on to recommended. These are not customized. We have the style code, which is correct. The product line. The UK shoe size, which is 10 and a half, which is actually already correct on here. The shoe width, which these did not have any special width. Yep, so we're going to go with D. Shoe shaft style is low top. These are definitely some low tops right here. Theme, colorful. I don't really know if I would choose that as a theme, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of click off of that. I don't think that that's necessary. Release here is not a huge deal because These are just weightlifting shoes. If these were like hype sneakers, really high-end hype sneakers, I would definitely say to do a release year. The EU shoe size is a 45.5. Actually, this doesn't have EU shoe size, so we're actually going to clear this off. Upper material is canvas. That is correct. Yeah, it does have this canvas feel to it. And vintage, we can actually say no. Additional specifics look pretty good. It's got an adjustable strap, performance and activity. It does have CrossFit, gym training, weightlifting. That looks pretty good. Again, you know, occasion, activewear, that's a good one to put. I definitely am into that. Fabric type, it says blended fabric. We're not 100% sure what this has. It doesn't say explicitly on there, so I'm actually going to clear the selected on that one because we're not 100% sure. Our custom SKU, we have a shoe bin, so we know exactly where that is. We don't need to fill out a custom SKU. So we're looking pretty good. Our category is in men's athletic shoes. That's looking pretty good. Under description, I mean, I would say something like, you know, in very good condition. Honestly, like, I'm trying to find flaws in these shoes, guys. And, man, they're just in really nice shape. I'm going to say clean all around with no funky smells. Yeah, I mean, these things are looking great. They really are. They're looking really good. You know, Velcro's good. You could say that. Like, Velcro in good shape. And then I'm going to say ships fast, free, and secure. Yeah, I mean, if these had like some stains in the toe box, you know, mention that. If there's any separation in the midsole, you'll want to mention that. You know, if there's just any weird smells coming from there, like I've sold pairs of shoes where they had a slight smell of cigarettes to them from the previous owner or owners, and I put that in the description, and they still sold because, you know, people are knowing what they get when they, you know, when they buy the item. They feel like they, you know, if you sent them a pair of shoes that had a cigarette smell to them and it wasn't in the description, you would be upset, right? So just kind of put yourself in the mind of a buyer. What would a buyer, you know, as being you, would want to know about these shoes before you bought them? Okay, so pricing, there was a lot that were brand new, around $100. I'm going to set the price of these to $48 because there's not a lot of pre-owns of these up right now. So I'm going to set $48. We're actually going to do something that we haven't done yet, and that is actually, we're going to go into more options and hit offers, actually. So we're going to hit offers and allow offers. We're not going to do a minimum offer amount, which, you know, you can say like, I don't want to accept any offers below $20 on these. We're not going to set that. We're just going to allow any offer just to see what people, you know, will offer us. So we've got the price set at $48.95. We've got offers on, and now we're going to move on to our shipping. We're going to actually do free shipping on these. And again, guys, we know that, you know, since these are over a pound, you know, very obviously these are over a pound, we are going to then say that these are going to go USPS priority mail because we have the free shoe boxes from USPS, and we'll talk more about that when we ship our items in another episode. But so we know that this is going to go USPS priority. We know it's free shipping, so we don't really care too much about the package details. But there you go. There it is, set up for shipping. We have all of our preferences set up. And guys, with preferences, it's going to save pretty much everything that you have done in previous listings or just as a general checkbox setting. So if you have your handling time set up for 1 day, it's going to keep on using that option unless you actually manually change it. So typically 98% of the time on preferences, I'm not even touching anything in preferences because it's going to keep remembering what your preferred preferences are. All right, we're not going to promote this item. We're not going to donate a portion to charity. Let's go ahead and preview this. And that, to me, like that picture off the bat, I think the picture looks pretty dang good. You guys can, mess around with different angles. I think it's important to say that if you feel like you messed up on something, it's okay, because you're going to be able to edit this item. You're going to be able to change the pictures if you want. So don't worry about making mistakes. Like, it's going to happen. It's fine. But we're going to go ahead and list the item. And bang, we are good to go. So hopefully by now you have your 2 listings set up. I mean, obviously, feel free to list more, but that's just what we ran through. Hopefully you guys have a couple listings up and good to go. Have fun with it. Play around with it. Mess around with different picture angles if it's a certain item that, may look more attractive from a certain angle, especially with shoes. That happens a lot. I mean, I always play around with the main picture angle and see if I can attract buyers a different way. Also, feel free to mess around with keywords in your titles. Generally, the title structure does stay the same, but if you wanted to put things, like with our shoes that, we added in strap or straps or, whatever that may be, you can add that in there. Just kind of mess around with keywords and maybe drive more traffic to your listings. Also, since we set up offers on those shoes, guys, it's important to remember that if we do get an offer, keep in mind, what you've paid for the item. Since we source the main majority of our items from the Goodwill bins, we have an idea of what we've paid for every item, because we can just say, okay, this item weighs X amount of pounds. We know that we pay X amount per pound. We can then say, okay, that's the cost of goods. I will say, however, we're going to talk about this more in a upcoming episode, but let your ego go if you're trying to get max dollar for your item. Like, let's say you've seen some other sold comps at $50 for those shoes, right? I had mine listed for $48.95. If somebody offers me $35, I'm not going to let my ego get in the way and be like, oh, well, these bunch of other people, sold theirs for $50. I'm going to hold out for $50. I don't recommend doing that, guys. I think that's a common mistake for resellers that are brand new. It was for me. I was trying to hold out for top dollar on every item, regardless of what I paid for it. We got those shoes for super cheap, so we're going to let them go for $35. Our profit margin is still going to be quite significant, and we're moving an item out of our inventory so we can bring in more stuff to make more money. I hope that makes sense, guys. Okay. Keep those listings up, guys. If you guys have any questions, hit us up in the comment section down below. There's also a link to our Discord, which is absolutely free to join. It's a chat app that allows you to chat with other resellers, not just myself or Zesty, but go down in there, chat with us for free. We'd love to have you. You can ask questions to myself, other resellers. We would be glad to help you guys out. We have a super helpful community, guys, for real. But until then, guys, we will see you later on the next grab. We'll see you later on the next installment of Sunday School. Can't wait to see you guys then. We're going to get into some packaging of items and sending them to your customers. It's going to be a good time. All right. Bye, guys.